From random discoveries beneath the ground to incredible creatures that defy the laws of nature. Today brings an astonishing account of treasures, genetic anomalies, and mysterious phenomena once found where people customarily sow grain and raise their livestock. Watch until the end, and you will not believe that such things can appear right in your own yard. In distant Australia, something occurred resembling scenes from a horror film. Countless farmers were subjected to a genuine mouse invasion. It was so extensive that the rodents filled not only barns but also every corner of residential buildings, destroying grain and any supplies in their path. This happened thanks to an overabundant grain harvest and perfect conditions for rapid mouse reproduction. On one farm in New South Wales, the owner was met with a startling sight in his barn. The floor literally moved from the endless flow of rodents. Because the grain and feed supplies were extraordinarily large, the mice multiplied at explosive speed, and the rainy weather created favorable conditions for their survival. As a result, farmers lost their crops en masse. Some mentioned that the damage reached colossal amounts. Amazingly, such mouse storms had taken place in Australia before, yet this time the scale went beyond all possible limits. The situation became so critical that the authorities began allocating special chemical agents and developing programs to combat the rodents. In the end, thousands of farmers whose fields were ruined were once more reminded that nature can always present a new challenge. One only needs to wait for the right conditions. In the state of Michigan in the distant year 2015, a farmer named James Bristle decided to install a drainage system on his soybean field. Nothing hinted at a sensational event until his tractor bumped into something extraordinarily hard. How astonished James was when he discovered that it was a gigantic bone. Paleontologists who arrived could hardly believe their luck. In front of them lay an astonishingly well-preserved skeleton of a woolly mammoth. Researchers were delighted to find a skull, tusks, and even the teeth of this giant creature. Analyses showed that it could be more than 11,000 years old, a period when these colossal animals roamed across North America. Scientists also noticed that some of the bones appeared to bear traces of human activity, suggesting that people might have hunted the mammoth or butchered its carcass for food. James, somewhat hesitant, ultimately decided to hand over the find to the University of Michigan's Museum of Natural History. In a small South American village, a farmer assisting a sow during farrowing was stunned when he saw among the newborn piglets one whose facial features looked eerily human. Its head was out of proportion, its eyes were set in a very unusual way, and its snout had a peculiar shape that made the little face resemble human traits. News of this spread quickly through the surrounding area, and people began to speculate about the causes of such a phenomenon. Some blamed the environment, perhaps chemical substances or toxins in the soil. Others spoke of unknown genetic abnormalities. Unfortunately, the poor piglet was weak and struggled to stand. The farmer himself, to everyone's surprise, treated the little one rather harshly, sparking a wave of sympathy for the unusual runt. Though there is no exact information about the piglet's subsequent fate, many are sure that such occurrences will always provoke debate and confusion, for nature is capable of the most unexpected surprises. In a small farming community in the state of Texas, a local resident gathering the usual morning harvest of eggs from the henhouse came upon an egg of such gigantic proportions that it immediately drew attention. By weight, it was several times heavier than a typical egg, and it appeared colossal. Yet the real surprises were just beginning. When the farmer decided to crack the immense shell, inside he found yet another fully formed egg. This phenomenon, a double egg, occurs in those rare instances when one egg develops within an already nearly complete egg, and both shells close separately. It is believed to be so unusual that most people will never witness it in person. Photographs of this discovery spread quickly across the internet, and the lucky owner of the egg within an egg noted that its taste was no different from that of a regular egg. In the southern regions of Thailand, a farmer named Buna went out one morning to check on her duck, but discovered two entwined king cobras caught in the net protecting her pond. One measured about 8 feet in length, considered huge by local standards, and the other was almost the same size. Both snakes were struggling fiercely, trying to slither free of the trap, and inspired true awe in everyone who witnessed the scene. The woman immediately called upon a special team of 5 people who arrived to carefully free the reptiles. It is best not to take any chances with king cobras. Their bite can be fatal, and during mating season they are especially aggressive. The rescuers, however, proceeded with great caution, liberating each snake separately. Afterward, the team released them back into the wild, and the farmers replaced the net with a safer barrier. In the small Estonian village of Sure, a farmer named Rainkiv encountered a chilling and extremely rare find. Hearing strange noises in his barn, he discovered a rat king, a group of rats whose tails were hopelessly intertwined in a single tight knot. In this particular case, 16 individuals were trapped together, and only some of them were still alive. They struggled desperately to break free, but every movement only tightened the knot further. The Rat King phenomenon itself is exceedingly rare and has been noted in historical records since the 16th century. Scientists hypothesize that rat tails can become stuck together under low temperatures or because of grime and bodily secretions. Rain's horrifying clump was later handed over to the University of Tartu, where researchers closely studied it in an effort to understand precisely how this distressing entanglement occurs. This case generated great interest not only among scientists, but also among everyday Estonians, for no one expected that in the modern age, such creepy and unusual images of nature could still surface. In the northeastern part of Egypt, a farmer decided to clear his plot before planting and stumbled upon a genuine ancient Egyptian relic. Hidden in the ground lay a large sandstone stele over 80 inches in length. On it, scholars identified symbols referring to a pharaoh named Wahibre, also known as Apries. This ruler reigned roughly in the 6th century before the Common Era, during the time of the 26th dynasty, and was known for his military conflicts and political troubles. Researchers found 15 lines of hieroglyphs on the stele, among which a winged solar disk, traditional in Egyptian symbolism, stood out vividly. It is believed that the inscription describes a victory or significant campaign of that period, possibly linked to the pharaoh's military actions. Interestingly, part of the text mentions local military leaders as well. For historians, this discovery is priceless. It offers deeper insights into the political climate of Egypt at that time. On a vast ranch in Texas, a farmer named Wayne McCann was calmly digging into the ground, unaware that he was about to become the discoverer of a unique paleontological sensation. Beneath the soil, he unexpectedly came across an almost complete skeleton of a Columbian mammoth. Unlike their woolly cousins, these giants had a smoother coat and were widespread across large areas of North and Central America. Columbian mammoths often reached impressive sizes, and their tusks could sometimes measure many feet in length. Scientists who examined the find were excited because the skeleton was remarkably intact. The skull and key limb bones were excellently preserved. It is possible that this mammoth died by the shore of an ancient body of water and, over time, became sealed in sediment. The farmer donated the bones to a prominent museum where they drew considerable attention from experts and the public alike, since such discoveries hold a wealth of information about Ice Age ecosystems. In a quiet corner of Lincolnshire, England, a farmer working in a field near the ruins of Thornton Abbey found a collective grave that gave him goosebumps. Under the layer of soil lay the remains of almost 6 people, including a significant number of children. Scientists studying the bones concluded that these were victims of the Black Death, the plague epidemic of the 14th century that claimed millions of lives across Europe. The bodies were placed in rows, one on top of another, indicating a rapid increase in mortality and the urgent need to bury the dead. Interestingly, Thornton Abbey served as both a religious and medical center at the time, and this mass burial attests to how dire the consequences of the pandemic were, even in relatively remote rural communities. DNA analysis revealed the presence of the bacterium Yersinia pestis, the very agent that caused the devastating pandemic. Once, a Texas farmer going about his usual work on his plot unexpectedly dug up something that threw all the local residents into a state of confusion. In the soil lay a creature resembling a hybrid between a human and a wild boar. Its body had a kind of coarse bristle, and its head had distinctly predatory features and tusks. Later, it turned out that the find was already in a state of decomposition, making it difficult to determine precisely what it had been like in life. As soon as word of this marvel hit social media, intense debate ensued. From fantastical theories about unknown species and aliens to suggestions of genetic mutations, local authorities and experts studied the remains, striving to find a rational explanation. Some proposed that it might simply have been an ordinary wild boar with severe developmental pathologies. Others remain convinced that the true story remains undisclosed. The farmer, frightened and bewildered, tried to stay away from the place where he made the discovery because it left him with lingering unease and countless questions. In the Swiss village of Aachen, a farmer was going about his routine in a cherry orchard when he noticed the gleam of a metallic object on a molehill. It turned out that his unexpected fortune exceeded all imaginable expectations. Beneath the soil lay a genuine treasure trove of more than 4,000 Roman coins. Most of these ancient coins were made of bronze with a small silver content. Astonishingly, many pieces were in almost perfect condition, as if they had been buried only yesterday. Archaeologists believe that the coins were concealed during the political and economic unrest of the Roman Empire around the 3rd century of the Common Era. Part of the hoard was found in leather pouches, which, though decayed, still indicated an intentional act of hiding. By Swiss law, the farmer did everything correctly. He informed the archaeological authorities, and now the coins are displayed in a local museum, serving as priceless evidence of Roman history on modern European soil. In Baker County, Florida, a farmer named Dwight Cruz had a cow give birth to a calf with 2 heads. This exceptionally rare condition is called polycephaly, and the odds of encountering it are 1 in hundreds of millions. The little heifer, named Annabelle, possessed 2 faces with their own eyes and mouths. Remarkably, when she drank milk from one head, the other would also perform sucking motions. However, life for such an animal is difficult. Annabelle was unable to stand on her own and needed constant care. Dwight had to bottle feed her and make sure the 2 heads did not get in each other's way. Calves like this seldom reach adulthood, but the farmer strove to do all he could to give her a chance. It is a vivid example of how astonishing animal anomalies can be and how they challenge scientific understanding. In the Bulgarian village of Nova Varaba, a farmer plowing his field suddenly hit something hard. As it turned out, he had unearthed an entire complex of ancient Roman-era burials, dated roughly to the 3rd century of the Common Era. In 2 brick-built tombs lined with plaster lay the remains of a man, a woman, and a child. In one of the tombs, archaeologists discovered gold jewelry, coins, and even glass vessels known as lacrimaria, which were filled with the tears of mourners. Notably, next to the child's bones was a bronze medallion plaque depicting the Roman Emperor Caracalla, a rare find, probably minted in the region of Asia Minor. It is astonishing how well preserved both the tombs and the burial offerings were. For historians, this became a genuine sensation, granting fresh insight into the customs and rites of people living during the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. In Argentina, near one of the local streams, a farmer named José Antonio Iñiguez stumbled upon an enormous spherical structure, which at first he took for a large stone. However, upon closer inspection, he realized that it was the shell of an ancient creature. As luck would have it, Experts later confirmed that the farmer had discovered the remains of a glyptodon, a giant armadillo that lived in South America thousands of years ago, in an era when humans were only beginning to populate these lands. Glyptodons were about the size of a small automobile and possessed an extremely tough protective shell that served as an excellent defense against predators. Astonishingly, the specimen found retained its shape so well that the pattern on its armored dome was still distinct. Later, scientists suggested that some human tribes may have hunted these giants, using their shells as shelters or even roofs for dwellings. In the year 2014, in one of China's rural provinces, an event took place that startled the entire world. A sow gave birth to a piglet with 8 legs. This exceedingly rare anomaly is called polymeleia, a condition in which an additional number of limbs develops. It can occur in many different species, though it is extremely uncommon. The little pig octopus, as it was immediately nicknamed, despite differing from its siblings, attempted to live a normal piglet's life, crawling around, searching for food, and interacting with its mother. However, moving was understandably difficult. The extra legs dangled and hindered the piglet from standing securely. The farmer, aware of the risks of surgical intervention, chose not to attempt removing the limbs and instead provided care for the piglet. According to medical statistics on such anomalies, if properly fed and free of complications, some animals with polymeleia can live for a fairly long time. In a quiet field in Denmark, a young man named Daniel Ram Christensen and his father Klaus began digging for fun, inspired by their grandfather's stories about a supposedly crashed German plane from the war. Their expectations were low, but within a few hours of digging, the metal detector began to give signals. In the end, they uncovered fragments of a Messerschmitt Bf 109 fighter plane, which had been lying in the ground for more than 7 decades. Unfortunately, along with the debris were the pilot's remains, his wallet, coins, and even a small notebook. Later, experts from the Museum of Northern Jutland studied the find and determined that the aircraft was likely shot down in the 40s during heavy combat. There were also Danish stamps on ration coupons, further complicating the plane's and pilot's story. For the Christensen family, it was not merely a historical discovery, but a true link to the past, casting light on wartime events in their homeland. In Wiltshire, England, a farmer went out to his field and spotted a massive crater spanning several feet in diameter. An empty pit about 6 feet deep yawned in the middle of the meadow. Investigation revealed that the cause was a piece of military artillery fired in error during training exercises. The projectile had deviated from its intended path by multiple miles, passing over 2 villages and landing on the farmer's property. Fortunately, no one was harmed, which seems truly miraculous, for the force of such shells is enormous, and an impact in a residential area could have been catastrophic. The military promptly halted all exercises to investigate the guidance failure. Weather conditions, possible human error, and technical malfunctions were all examined, anything to prevent such incidents from recurring. Though the situation was resolved quickly, it served as a reminder that even the smallest mistake in military matters can lead to a genuine tragedy. In the spring of the year 2024, a Norwegian farmer named Lava was removing stones from his field when he came across a piece of metal which initially seemed to be ordinary trash. Upon pulling it from the earth, however, he realized that he held a Viking sword that had lain in the soil for about 1,000 years. Later, archaeologists concluded that it was likely an Ulfberht sword, famed for its exceptionally high-quality steel and bearing a special inscription attesting to its status. The Vikings were renowned for their voyages and raids, and Ulfberht swords were not only weapons, but also symbols of prestige, for the metal used in these blades was produced and worked using unique techniques unavailable to other peoples of that era. Experts theorized that the sword might have belonged to a local warrior who hid it in the ground or was buried with it. The owner could well have been an influential figure in his community. It is particularly astonishing how well the inscriptions and the steel structure were preserved. The sword spent many centuries in clay soil, which thankfully protected it from corrosion. In the hilly regions of southern France, a farmer who preferred to remain anonymous discovered part of a huge skull that unsettled him so much that he told no one about it for 2 whole years. When he finally contacted specialists, they confirmed that this was the fossilized skull of an ancient mastodon, which roamed the planet about 12 million years ago. Mastodons, distant relatives of modern elephants, had notable tusks. One pair grew from the upper jaw, and another could grow from the lower jaw, giving these animals a truly imposing appearance. Before this, only individual tooth fragments had been found in that region, so the discovery of a complete skull generated significant excitement among paleontologists. They proposed that this giant beast might have become stuck in muddy terrain or died near a body of water, and subsequent geological processes buried it under thick layers of sediment. The skull is now on display in a major museum, astonishing both experts and thousands of visitors who are learning for the first time that such colossal creatures once roamed Europe. In one of the Midwestern states of the United States of America, a farmer named Jack went out to his field early one morning and heard a strange humming sound. At first he thought it was a problem with his machinery, but the noise was coming from deep within the rows of corn. There, he saw several large, seemingly glowing eggs. Each was about the size of an adult person's fist and gave off a faint shimmer. While the farmer struggled to regain his composure, the eggs began to move slightly. His daughters, Mary and Giselle, were terrified, yet at the same time they persuaded their father not to destroy these strange objects. When one of the eggs cracked, it revealed a tiny creature, difficult to classify as a typical bird or reptile. The farmer was even more bewildered. What was he supposed to do with these visitors? No one can say for certain where these eggs came from or what kind of mysterious beings are inside. The most unbridled imagination suggests that they are alien life forms accidentally brought to Earth, while others believe that nature has played yet another trick, possibly producing a mutated variety of local reptiles. On a farm in North Queensland, Australia, a chicken hatched with a peculiar defect. It had 4 legs. Such a mutation, known as polymelia, is extremely rare. While similar cases in piglets had been reported in the news, a bird with extra limbs provokes even more amazement. The chicken's owner noticed that the other birds in the yard began to bully this special chicken. They pecked at it and drove it away from the feeding trough. Fearing that it would not survive in such conditions, the farmer posted a photo on social media asking for help. A woman dedicated to animal welfare responded and took the unusual chicken in, providing it with a safe environment. According to veterinarians, the extra legs were not particularly functional, but they did not cause the bird pain. Life on the farm would have been an ordeal for the chicken, but in its new home, the wonder chicken received a shot at a full life and even became a local celebrity, as many curious people wanted to see it. And what do you think about all these astonishing discoveries? Perhaps you have also had unexpected surprises in your own yard or garden. Write comments, give likes, and subscribe to the Top Facts channel for the most incredible collections of facts and videos from all over the internet. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.